Hey everybody, I want to apologize for single-handedly calling down an early winter. I'll explain how that happened later, but first I want to talk about bicycles. During my last video, I talked about my Cannondale Trail 7 and how I crashed it. I'm not sure how long it will take for that crash sequence to get old, but that hasn't happened for me yet. There should be a card up above if you want to go back and watch that. Well, the bike shop took my broken wheel and said they would warranty it, but they don't even have an estimate on how long it will take to get the part. Can I just say COVID seriously sucks? Like, I know, I don't even have the virus. I'm getting a free replacement bicycle wheel, and the riding season's practically over anyways, so what do I have to complain about? Well, I'm going to ask you to hold your judgment and try to see things from my perspective. The riding season's almost over for 2021. I don't have a bike to ride for an indeterminate amount of time, and even though I asked if there were any options to upgrade my wheel and just buy one, they said no, there aren't. This may not entirely be because of a COVID supply chain issues, and I'll explain why that is the case. You see, my Trail 7 has what's called a quick release axle. They've been around for a long time, and honestly, they're quite convenient. The coolest part is that you don't need any tools to take them off. So, fewer wrenches to carry with you on the trail in the event you need to fix a tire. That's rideable. My bike also has disc brakes on the hub of the wheel, so that tends to put a bit more stress on the hub and axle dropouts. Herein lies the problem with quick release. The dropouts that allow you to remove the wheel mean there's less metal from the frame retaining the axle, so the frame is more flimsy at the crucial point where the axle's held. Generally, that's not a problem, and indeed, if you look back at my crash, the wheel certainly didn't come out of the fork, even though the forces were enough to bring the bike to an abrupt halt. The problem is the mountain bike manufacturers have decided that it isn't worth making flimsy parts and frames anymore, so it's hard to find a wheel that's made to work with a quick release axle instead of the newer through axle design. This is doubly the case if you want to get a larger and more heavy duty wheel. What is a guy like me to do then if I want to get a wider rim for my mountain bike so I can be safer on the trail? Well, drum roll please. New bike! Big thanks to my brother for that drum roll, by the way. This is my 2021 Specialized Fuse Comp 29, and just look at the meat on those tires. Those rims are 29 millimeters internal width with thick 2.6 inch wide 29 inch tires. Ain't no implants in those wheels either. This fat bottom bike rolls completely tubeless. It's got 200 millimeter 4-piston Shimano M4100 brakes in the front, moving all the way up. With 130 millimeters of travel on the RockShox Recon RL4, we have a tapered head tube. With a 1x drivetrain, this bike has a 32 ring in the front and 51-tooth dinner plate in the back, so the climbing gear is... Now, the 12-speed Shimano Diore M6100 shifting gear is hyper smooth with Shimano's Hyperglide Plus technology on the cassette. And the cherry on top of this bike is the dropper post. Now that may all be a lot to take in, but let me give you the highlights and why some of those details are important. First of all, for my case, having had a failed wheel, it's important to have modern through axles that give me a lot more opportunities to get nicer wheels for the future. Next, the wide frame and front fork will accommodate just about any tires, so I have a lot of options when I wear out the Specialized Butcher and Purgatory tires that came on the bike. Continuing on the topic of the fork, it has a tapered head tube, which are much more common in bicycle parts than straight head tubes, so the fork is a lot more upgradable than the straight tube fork on my Trail 7. I've ridden it a few times at this point, and it is a huge upgrade. It feels like it just wants to ride over anything like a monster truck. The short chainstay and wheelbase make it nimble, while the slack angle of the head tube make the rake and trail of the front wheel long and stable. It is extremely easy to steer through all kinds of obstacles, and the aggressive knobs on the tires give it tons of grip, even at extreme angles on loose surfaces. I've learned a lot about bicycles in the last few days, and it wasn't an easy decision to buy this. If you had told me 2 years ago that I would buy a bike like this, I would say you were crazy. Cuckoo! In just that time, I've gone from a Walmart bike to a cheap name brand bike to what most avid cyclists consider still an entry-level bike, but it is so much more than I had, and it is finally the kind of bike that is rated to be ridden on the most difficult of trails. In both cases, when I bought a new bike before, it required a major component of my bike failing and my realizing that I would have to buy a nicer bike in order to get better parts that would take the abuse I was putting them through. I hope that doesn't happen soon at this point, but even if parts do fail, I'm confident that I'll be able to get good replacement parts and even upgrades that will let me make my bike even better while I become a better rider. Now, if you're wondering about my earlier comment about the weather, I can't help but notice that the weather got extremely rainy right after I bought a new bike. My resolve will be tested over the next few weeks.
The attempt on my life has left me scarred and deformed. But I assure you, my resolve has never been stronger.
But I'll be riding as much as the weather permits. Tell me what kind of bike you ride in the comments. Give me a like if you think I made a good decision. Thanks for watching. For now, this is Russian Rick signing off.